And just like that, we're back. Not gonna do a long intro, as this is the second third of the 2022 game log, covering what I beat from May to August. If you're a little confused, go back and watch the first video, the link should be in the card, for disclaimers relating to spoilers and the like. With that said, let's not waste any more time and speed into the first game, Sonic Colors Ultimate. I first played the original game when I was younger, and while I loved it, I also sucked at Sonic games. No kidding, I didn't make it past the third world. I kept trying to replay this game over the years, but I never beat it. Once this remaster got announced last year, I was ecstatic, since this meant I could finally beat this childhood game of mine. While I'd still argue that I suck at these games to this day, I've definitely gained the skills that I needed to finally beat Sonic Colors. And it's safe to say that I really enjoyed my time. I even went as far as to getting all of the red rings so I could play the extra levels in the arcade mode. There definitely were some moments of either utter crap happening, or me outright cheesing certain sections of the game, but that's Sonic games in general. Overall, this is a super solid 3D entry to the series, and one that I will always recommend. With Sonic done, I decided to come back down to Earth, and wait, this isn't what I remember it looking like. It almost looks forgotten. Kirby's first foray into the 3D space was amazing. While it took him so long to fully transition into the 3D platformer genre, it was entirely done right. The core gameplay was tweaked in such a way where it still felt like Kirby, but now everything required a bit of thought instead of hovering over all of the levels with a single brain cell. The environments were super creative and rich with detail, not to mention the music was once again incredible. I even went back to this game way after beating the main story and did all of the post-game side stuff, essentially 100%ing it. Kirby in the Forgotten Land is a strong contender for my favorite Kirby game, and I'm excited to see how this new playstyle for the series evolves with the next entry. At this point, I slowed my completion rate of games down a bit. I knew I was gonna become busy relatively soon, and right after I got free time back, there'd be a game that would make me pause my entire backlog to play. But one thing was for certain.
There's no change in the plan.
Yakuza 3 was a video game. Definitely the most removed from the Kiryu saga so far, the game introduces a brand new area of Japan to run around, new characters, and pulls in loose threads from Kiwami while pushing away from some other plots. While this is my lowest ranking Yakuza game, that doesn't mean it's bad, not in the slightest. The story was super quick paced, which I really enjoyed, and once it picked up speed, it never really slowed down. This made the game's story really refreshing in that aspect, as there are multiple chapters in Kiwami and Kiwami 2 that made the game slow down a bit. Although the random spurts of English in the game ranged from weird
beautiful eyes
to super hilarious.
up to the roof.
While the combat keeps its simplified form from Kiwami 2, square, square, triangle, and the tiger drop still reign supreme as the moves of choice. Overall, this is still a super solid entry in the Kiryu saga, and it sets up a new stage for the series to pick up from. At the very least, it has to be only up from here, right? In the end, I barely beat Yakuza 3 before I became busy. However, during this busy period of my life, I was able to squeeze out a couple of shorter games, starting with Super Metroid, the second Metroid game I ever played, and arguably one of the best in the series. The last time I beat this game was many years ago, so the game was due for a replay. Coincidentally, this urge to play the game lined up with literally all of my friends playing the game, some of them for the very first time. So I decided to join them, and well, I initially went for 100%, but gave up about halfway through. This is mainly due to just flat out not being super familiar with the second half of the game, and literally everything that unlocks with late game power-ups that require you to backtrack. Either way, replaying the game was a lot of fun, and it's still a quintessential Metroid experience, and just in general, a great 2D game. I still suck at wall jumps though. Why I understand bomb jumps and not wall jumps is beyond me. The next game I beat Well, it's a bit awkward because I barely played it myself. If anything, Super Castlevania 4 is mainly here for consistency's sake. I did technically play this game, but I did so as more of a relay format with two of my other friends. They were the main ones who made progress, whereas I would take the controller and do maybe half of a level before dying idiotically. As such, I don't have too much of a memory of the game, not to mention those specific memories are, admittedly, a bit foggy. Maybe this is a game I revisit in the future, I don't know. Sadly, I don't have much to say beyond, well, it's a game. It wasn't bad per se, that's for sure. But enough of foggy memories, because the next game I played was one of the best of the year. The game I had been waiting for since the rumors were circulating. The finale of the Klaus saga was finally in my hands. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was a downright incredible experience. Seeing the meshed environments with a sense of familiarity and mystery, and I'd argue the best main cast in the series. In the first two games, there would be some characters in the main party I'd be more indifferent to, or care less about. But not in this one. All 6 main party members shine brightly, and really feel like they belong. The gameplay is based off of 2's combat, but it's more refined and just feels really good at times. The customization that the game offers here is incredible as well, and incentivizes exploration to unlock more options for the party. The music, of course, is a Xenoblade standard, which just means it's absolutely incredible. I'd talk about the story, but I won't. Purely due to me not wanting to spoil it at all. So let's just say that the ending, once again, absolutely gutted me. While I'm not one to recommend starting the series with Xenoblade 3, it's still an amazing experience as a standalone title. Just, ugh, I could talk about this game and this series ad nauseum. But let's end this segment with this. Xenoblade 3 solidified the Xenoblade Chronicles series as my favorite video game series. Just, ugh, so good. Well, needless to say, I needed a bit of a break after Xenoblade, so I opted for my next game to be a bit shorter. So I searched through my backlog, and on a complete whim, I decided to pick up a game that had been sitting in my Steam library since the very start. Thomas Was Alone, a quirky little game about rectangles and purpose. Man, I don't think I have the words to describe this game. Like, seriously. On the surface, it's so simplistic. But dig a little deeper, and there's a beautiful message set in its core. If you want a fairly short, silly little platformer that's relatively cheap, honestly, this is a great pick. Due to me not having many games I was looking forward to at this point, I decided to clean up another game that was on my backlog. Because it turns out, there was one DLC episode that I completely missed. That being said, this next section has massive spoilers for Final Fantasy XV. Like, this spoils the main villain's identity. If you want to play Final Fantasy XV, then skip this section and come back once you're aware of who the main villain is. Anyway, I forgot that Arden had a DLC episode. I didn't really know what to expect with it, since it could be anywhere between Gladio and Ignis in terms of quality, but Arden's story is just tragic. Being able to fly around Insomnia to— wait, Lotus Juice?
Now you're messing with a man who's obsessed with his vengeance. You better know what's really at stake. It's my turn now, watch me retaliate.
Yeah, that was not a voice I was expecting to hear in the soundtrack. Arden was really fun to play as, and if anything, the DLC provided some decent backstory as to why Arden acts the way he does. I feel like games giving you the opportunity to play as the villain of the story is pretty rare, so this was a fun time just from that fact. In the end, this was some more quality story from the world of 15, and in terms of overall good factor, I'd place this episode between Prompto and Gladio, but closer to the Prompto side of the scale. I very much enjoyed my time here, and honestly, I was a bit saddened to see my journey in this world formally come to a close. Unless I wanted to watch a movie. At this point, I was approaching the end of August, and again, knew I was going to become very busy very soon. So, I had time for one final game, and I didn't expect this game to go as hard as it did. Birth by Sleep was a game that I had initially picked up at the start of the year, after watching 358 divided by 2 days. Stupidly, I decided to play the game on Proud Mode, when I had played non-normal for every other Kingdom Hearts game. Despite this hurdle and getting roadblocked at multiple points, I ended up clearing every story with every character, and even saw the secret path. Out of all of the Kingdom Hearts games I've played, I wasn't expecting Birth by Sleep to be so beautiful. I really felt for this trio of characters, their journeys into tragedy, and the events that set the whole series in motion. While I still hold Roxas as my precious Kingdom Hearts child, these three come really close. The gameplay is a bit of a hurdle, especially on Proud Mode, so I recommend having a fuse guide handy to get the commands you want, and the abilities you downright need at times to beat the game. It's weird to say that Birth by Sleep is my favorite Kingdom Hearts game so far, but it is! It felt good to complete a collection of games I had bought so long ago, and I was excited to jump into the games that came next. Maybe none of them will touch this game in terms of quality, but who knows? This series has already surprised me once. Maybe it'll happen again. That's that for the second third of the year. Jumping into September, I was facing to start up school again, so I knew that I wouldn't have a lot of time for video games. But it was only a matter of time to see what I could accomplish in the rest of 2022. With that being said, I'll see you at the end.